September we met, I could tell by your smile. You hadn't been with a good girl like me in a while. Learn something new every day. I don't know, so I'ma feel my way. I'm taking one day at a time. I think I'm handling just fine. No one can try and make mistakes, but I know I'm gonna be okay. Got the weight of the world on me, but no regrets, this is what I say. Yeah. Watch our world, I'm grown now. It's about to go down. My heart beating so loud. Mama, look, I'm grown now. I'm grown up now. Watch our world, I'm grown now. You can tell me it's about to go down. I go hard on mama, look, I'm grown now.
That was the new promo for season 2's Grownish. And if you don't know, Grownish is a show that is a spinoff of Blackish. Blackish basically being a show about a black family navigating their way through predominantly white suburbs, all right, and how they do it. And so their oldest daughter goes off to college. But anyway, Grownish decided to pay homage to A Different World, a very, very popular sitcom before there was Love and Hip Hop and shit like that, where it showed like people, black people in a positive light. This is when they showed black people in a positive light. But this was a very popular show in the late 80s and the early 90s. And I lived through this. I was actually in high school and went to college. I know because of A Different World. A lot of people in my generation was inspired to go off to college because of A Different World. That I know of. All right. So I could see why Grownish would pay reverence and pay respect to this show. Honestly, Bill Cosby did a great job with promoting positive images on TV for black people. All right. So say whatever you say about Bill Cosby, he was the bomb back then, and he did a lot of great things for showing and you know, emulating positive images for us in the 90s. But anyway, a lot of people are up in arms and in their feelings because people these days are easily triggered about a whole lot of nothing. But anyway, they are triggered because Grownish decided to do the introduction like A Different World. All right. And of course, putting their own spin on it, of course, because you see the kids with the cell phones, you see them with the red cups. I mean, just pretty much showing how life is today. So a lot of comments were going in on Grownish this morning, basically saying it's whitewashed and why they're trying to duplicate A Different World and they will never be a different world and all this other nonsense that people were saying. And then, of course, there were some other people that saying, you know, y'all reaching, this is too far, this is ridiculous. And I'm going to just say, for the most part, a lot of these comments probably came from people that never even watched A Different World or have very little understanding of HBCUs in the first place. Let's be clear. There are a few marshmallows in the hot chocolate at HBCUs. What I mean is there are few white specks at HBCUs. All right. So it's not like you won't ever see any white kids at an HBCU, but that wasn't even the point here. All right. People were getting upset because they felt like you had this show with white kids on it. All right. Trying to duplicate an all black cast. First things first, there were a couple of white kids on A Different World. Maggie was in the first season. You had Matt, who was Freddie Brooks's cousin, in a few seasons later. Then you also had mixed race kids on A Different World. You had, of course, Denise, you had Whitley, and you had Freddie Brooks. I mean, they may not have played mixed race kids, except for Freddie, but for the most part, they had a lot of light-skinned characters and actors on that show, which has always been, you know, one of my only criticisms of shows like that, is that they featured too many lighter skinned actors when they could have used that opportunity to show more black actors. But let me be fair. Kim Reese on A Different World, she was a dark-skinned actress on there. So I think this is much to do about nothing. This show was just paying homage, paying respect to one of the best shows that have ever graced the TV. I think we're so used to seeing Love and Hip Hop and all this negative bullshit and negative nonsense that you just can't even respect and understand how important it was to have a show like that. All right. They're not trying to duplicate it. First of all, she goes to a PWI, a predominantly white institution. All right. So it can't be, they can't duplicate it. All right. Be triggered about something like this. A Minneapolis cop posted this Christmas tree online. A Florida cop gets 3 years in prison for framing black people. He should have got life, ruining people's lives. Get triggered about stuff like that. All right. What about Amber Geiger? She just got indicted, but we know an indictment doesn't mean she'll get convicted for that. Let's be triggered about real shit, guys, because this ain't it. This ain't it, Chief.